Ooh.
Hey, what's up, Dexter?
How you doing, Ralph? How are you? I know, right? The audience, the first thing they see us doing is like, ooh,
Ooh.
thinking that we're doing something exciting. We're really not. We're just
We just
enjoying the
saw a
countdown.
countdown, that's all. We're like kittens with a little shiny ball.
That's what we are. Yeah, we are. We're like, oh, we're like, oh, look, it's a countdown. And then we're
It's a
like,
little, it's a little laser light.
yeah. And then we just go into like, we're staring at the camera. Here we go.
And then we lose focus, just like we're doing now.
I wear two suits, folks. Welcome, everyone. It's Tuesday. What is it, January 28th?
I think
January
so, yeah.
28th. Tuesday,
Yep.
January 28th. Wow. 25 feels like it just started yesterday, and it's like
I,
25, it's
I,
28
I
days later.
know. I know. It's crazy the way time flies, which we spoke on last time that, life comes with no breaks, and the older we get.
I mean, those breaks are just shot. We're going downhill. Nothing's stopping us. We're sticking our feet out.
We're going downhill, and the downhill is on fire.
That's too soon. That's too soon.
Yeah,
No, actually,
that's just it.
that's too soon. Actually, Dave Chappelle was on, who I, by the way, love as a
Yeah,
comedian. I know he's controversial, but comedians are
yeah,
controversial, you know.
yeah.
And
A good one will be, yeah.
a good one will be. And I followed his career ever since the days of the Chappelle Show. And I've always thought he was just amazingly funny.
He really is.
And he was talking about whether it was too soon when he had hosted a Saturday Night Live episode that was maybe a couple of weeks ago. And no, not for him. He did make a joke regarding the LA Fighters.
He'll joke about anything, man.
He'll joke about anything.
He'll lose a left arm. He'll joke about that.
Yeah, and but the beauty about him, if you give him half a chance, it's the way he ties his stories together.
Mm-hmm.
He's just such a really good performer, and is one of the few comedians out there that have just amazing delivery.
Yeah.
And I was just watching him. Anyone who has not watched, who is not a fan of Dave Chappelle, who has not watched the Saturday Night Live episode that aired a couple of weeks ago, and he was on, watch it. It was the longest monologue ever in its history.
Oh,
In
wow.
50 years. Yeah, he was on for like 15
So
minutes.
basically, it was a stand-up skit.
Yeah, but he was hysterical. He was funny. He was somewhat appropriate. He was pointed to today's current events.
Yeah.
It was a cool show to watch. But here I am, like, digressing. I digress. I'm sorry. Rob.
Again, and I'm entertaining it.
I know. Who do we have as our questions? Do we have any questions this week?
Yes. So now that we're talking about that, hi guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in and for watching and for liking and subscribing. And so we've got a couple of questions. And you want the first one, or you want me to take the first one?
Yeah, you take the first one.
Okay. The first one is, what are your fondest memories of growing up? And this is something obviously that you can address too. But my fondest memory growing up was the ones that stick out with me is hanging out with Dexter and his family, as specifically when we were out being physical, playing football, playing stickball, whatever. Yeah, those things are the things that when I think about my childhood, those are the first things that come back to me. The music, obviously, to me, also, I tie a lot of my memories also with the music of the day, which if anybody ever sees my playlists, you'll swear that I'm stuck in the 70s, is because it's what makes me remember my childhood. That's my fondness of me. Whether it was the Commodores or whether it was the disco rage with the Bee Gees or whatever the case, everything that had to do, right, with the 70s and music, Baker Street and the Little River Band, stuff like that. So between the music and our memories of our hanging out with the guy, your brothers, with Arnold, and just wrecking ourselves in some cases.
Oh my God, it was just horrible. It was just terrible. I don't know if we were abusing ourselves, if that was like, we just didn't know how to play any other way. But it's just, yeah, I mean, an answer to that, yeah. Those are my fondest memories growing up, right? The male bonding going on with all of us, my brothers and your brothers and the friends that we had at the time. And we shared so much in common. And then, of course, oh my God, what was her name? Dolores. We'll just say Dolores D. she was just one of my fondest memories growing up. It's one of those women. It's one of those women that you say to yourself, "Oh my God! Like, what did I do at that time? What was I doing?"
Great.
But no, but she ended up. We actually ended up being good friends. So she was a great memory. I had good times when I was a kid growing up in the Bronx. Not all of the Bronx was bad.
No, not at
It
all.
was just never. It wasn't as bad as everyone thought it was.
No, no. We adjust.
We adjusted, and everybody thinks, well, it's worse now than it was then. No, it's all relative, right?
Mm,
When you grew up, how you grew up, it's all relative. You're always going to think that it's either worse or better depending on, how you grew up.
yeah. Yeah.
We were able to make the best of it. We were able to form friendships that lasted or have lasted
Mhm.
for a whole lifetime. So it's like it wasn't such a bad thing growing up in the Bronx back in the 70s and 80s.
I enjoyed it a lot. There were times when I was like, what am I doing here?" But but again, but I wouldn't trade any of it because, as we mentioned in an earlier episode, it formed us to who we are now, and I
Sure, it
wouldn't
makes you
trade
who you
any of
are.
it.
Yeah.
So
I'm proud
so
to say, I'm from the Bronx. I'm proud to
yep,
say that.
yep,
It's the first, where'd you grow up? The Bronx.
yep,
I don't say
absolutely,
New York City. I say the Bronx.
exactly. It's sort of like eye opening to a lot of people that I know that I've met when we have these conversations when we're talking, all of a sudden that comes up, where are you from? And I say the South Bronx. They're like, what? Really? And no bullet holes?
Well, there's also this ignorant belief, right, that if you're from the
Hmm.
South Bronx, right, that whatever image they have of who that is in their minds,
Right.
right, they're like, what? What? You
Exactly.
really? You
Yeah.
are? Okay,
Exactly.
yeah. And there aren't good people in the Bronx,
Yeah,
really?
we're not the only two that came
We're
out of
not
the
the
Bronx
only
that are
two. It's it's
fairly well adjusted. Fairly. Keyword.
really. I mean, it's geography doesn't dictate that. Socioeconomic status and geography does, but in the Bronx back then, it's like everyone was the same.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing
Yeah.
about the South Bronx. It's the same.
Yep. Like it or not. You're important until you're not.
That's what I'm
Next.
saying.
Yeah. One more question here, and I think this is something that we can both also address. What things do you still do today that you did as a youth? Now, this one got me thinking a little bit because I didn't think that I still did some of those things that I did back when I was young. But the reality is, the more I thought about it, there are some things that I haven't let go of. And I already addressed one of them, which is the music. At any given point, if you see me beat bopping and all that good stuff with earbuds on, with the headsets and listening to music, I'm willing to bet you 90% of the chances it's back to its 70s music. Maybe it's because the music was better. Maybe it's because it's tied to memories. But whatever the case may be, that's something that I have not let go of. And something else that maybe I shouldn't admit to, but I'm going to. Every now and then, when I get bored and I got absolutely nothing going on and I've got a little bit of time, I'll go
Marijuana.
on YouTube.
You're smoking. You're smoking the Genma. You are,
Nope.
aren't you?
I, I listen to these keywords. I would never admit to doing that.
Ever. Never admit.
Never admit it.
Ever.
Lie detector test. No, but every now and then when I get bored, I'll go ahead and I'll get back onto YouTube and recall some old videos that were popular when we were kids. You know what I mean? And it's just a
Sure.
reminiscing kind of a thing. Whether it's redoing old, again, I shouldn't admit this, but I'm going to. Old cartoons, you know
Sure.
what I mean? Whether it's Super Friends or.
What was it was today the number one watched or streamed, I'm sorry, the number one streamed program in the world was, guess what? You'd never guess. You would think Game of Thrones, you would think something of that magnitude, right?
But
It
I
was
would have guessed
Bluey.
who?
It's Bluey, the cartoon for kids. Bluey is the
What?
number one. It's the
What?
number one stream. Yes, Bluey of all
Wow.
things.
I would have
Show
guessed, oh yeah, I would have guessed Game of Thrones or The
Game of Thrones.
Sopranos or something like
No,
that. No,
Bluey.
Bluey. What? Okay.
I'm like, oh my God. I'm going to have to check out Bluey now to see what makes it so popular amongst the kids.
Add one more to that stream.
Oh my God. But to your point, before we were doing what was the music obviously takes you back, and it takes everybody back, right? You when you
Yep.
listen to the music, you go, oh, I remember when it was that. And then the really surprising part is when you go, yeah, that was only 5 years ago. No, brother, it wasn't. It was 20 years ago. Oh my God, right?
Yeah.
You start doing
Wh-
that.
Yeah, when they start referring to the music that we like as classics,
When they go the best of the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
God, oh
Wow,
God.
wow.
But
Even then,
but I find myself listening to him. So,
you
oh
can't
well.
help yourself. I'll watch old movies. I'll watch old TV shows. I'll watch,
Sure.
I'll watch MASH. The other day I was watching a show called Mannix, which I used to watch a lot when I was
Yes,
a
I
kid.
remember Mannix. Sure.
Yeah. And so those
Columbo.
Columbo, they give you comfort and they were good shows.
Sure.
Just
Sure.
because they were made back, because they're barely into color doesn't mean that they're not good shows, right?
That's right. Yeah.
The Twilight Zone I used to watch
Oh
as a
yeah. I
kid.
still watch those. Are you kidding me?
Every New Year's when they have the
Every now and then I find myself seeing a brand new one that I never knew existed, or one that had been banned and has been re-released.
right,
A good example, and we'll get off of this one as soon as we can. Anyway, I might actually edit it out, but we'll see. There's an episode that was released within the last few years with we're talking about Twilight Zone, with George Takai played a Japanese. I don't know whether he played an American or a Japanese soldier. I forget the context of it, but he found himself in a room. I think he went in to do some shopping at a gift store or whatever with an American retired soldier that was in the Iwo Jima time frame, and all of a sudden these were not two people. They were customer, and all of a sudden they were like, well, the American was flashing back, kind of. You can see, so there was a sense of racism in this episode. But if you can look past that, it was a really good show. I forget the title of it, but it was with George Takai. He goes in, and I think he was looking for an old samurai sword in this shop. And
oh,
the American who owned it was kind of like sort of like flashing back. So I think that show was banned because of the racism that was embedded in the episode. But if you look at the entire show, it speaks to something else. It's just that people are hypersensitive to racism, and I think they took that one down. And all my life, I never saw that one until about 4 years ago. I was like, I've never seen this episode before.
oh wow, yeah.
So every
And
now and
George
then,
Takai,
yeah,
everyone who's not familiar, if you're not, George Takai is the actor who actually plays Sulu in the original Star Trek
that's right.
episodes with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelly and Nichelle Nichols and that whole group. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So here we are, still stuck in the 70s. Oh, well, I mean, again, it's my favorite time frame, and it's my favorite decade, and for good and for the bad. I mean, again, look, I wasn't fond of, and we spoke about this earlier. I wasn't fond of the blackout. I wasn't fond of the Son of Sam things, the shootings and all that. I was not fond of that, but all of that went to build me who I am today. Anyway, let's get off of that. So now there's one. This is not a question. I guess it is. And this is something for us to think about. Somebody wrote, and I'm going to encapsulate it because it was a long, drawn out thing. Basically, they write, who this person wrote, you two get along really, really well. Have you guys considered doing reaction videos? And I had not. And I thought to myself, what are reaction videos other than just watching something and reacting to it? But the more I thought about that, the more I thought, well, we are. This is this is very organic, these conversations that you and I have, and maybe we should consider doing sometime as part of the episodes. I don't know. Something to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that maybe we can edit it, right, Ralph, and cut it
Sure.
when we're having a particular discussion. Because we do give some pretty when we start talking about things that are happening right now. We do give some pretty implicit reactions, right? So it's like
Oh, absolutely.
I think that would be fun.
Yeah, none of this that we're saying and doing is rehearsed. We'll discuss like the pre-show conversation where we'll cover the bullet points of what we think we're going to discuss, but it's nothing that we do is rehearsed. So I think because of that, maybe reaction videos might be something that
Yeah,
might work.
we welcome it. Look, we've mentioned it several times throughout the recordings. We're doing this for fun. If someone's watching us, that's fantastic. If someone wants to throw a question our way, that's even better. We love the engagement. It makes it easier, right, than us
Sure.
having to talk about each other all day, which is after a while, it's going to get pretty boring,
Yeah.
right? But, we welcome that. We welcome, format changes. We welcome any
Whatever you
sort of
guys want.
opinion, whatever you
Yeah.
guys want, right? Just kind of look, we're just having fun. As long as we continue to be productive and constructive, that's what we're
Yeah.
looking for.
Yep.
Yeah.
Once I figure out how to get a third screen so we can watch something at the same time and react to it, then we'll start that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
stay tuned.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. So, did you have anything you wanted to talk about? I know we promised that we have to talk about at least one subject.
Oh, that's right.
Right. Well, we're
We
on,
might as
right? We got to
well,
talk
right?
about one thing when we're on, right?
Well, okay. I don't know whether you've taken note, but there are more and more and more fires. These fires are not, these aren't just three fires that are spreading. There's a lot more of them popping up. And the one thing I've noticed, and call it conspiracy theory if you want to, whatever, but a lot of the videos that I've seen of new fires are along the highway. So what I'm thinking is these are man-made. Still, whether it's intentional or not, I don't know. But I think a lot of these are just like cigarettes being flicked out the window, and boom, there you go. There's the next fire. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of fires that are along roads, along highways. And that's the only thing that kind of makes sense to me. It's just carelessness of people. And I hope it's not intentional. Not that it matters in the end, because a fire is the fire. But yes, I'm starting to see a lot of roadside fires, and once those things start, we're seeing that they're not easy to put out. Interestingly enough, though, right? I saw a few fires start up in San Diego, and they were put out immediately
Hmm.
because they do have water pressure in their hydrants. Their system is fully operational. I'm not accusing anything of anybody in the LA government. We already discussed that, but the difference is that the infrastructure and the water system isn't fully intact. So San Diego was able to knock out those fires quick. So, but there's more fires starting up, and then the Santa Ana winds are kicking up again. So it's not
I thought
over.
they got like a deluge of right now. They're worried about mudslides and and everything. So it's like it's one of those situations that it doesn't seem to be getting any better, right? There's no respite for the weary at this point, right? So
Exactly.
it's just really, I just hope that again the right thing is being done. People are being helped. We're not using this as some sort of political point of view.
It is being used and that's the worst part, I think. Well, no,
Yeah.
it's not the worst part, but that's sad that now both sides are politicizing it.
Sure,
And
now
I'm
you're adding insult to injury now, right? So
just
it's like you want to politicize it. It's like really, is that what you really want to do? It's like
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
when I don't know, there's a moral compass that seems to be missing from a lot of political leaders these days between like what is the right thing to do, right? And then what is the
Mm-hmm.
expedient thing to do. And what's the
Right.
politically what's the best thing for
Yeah.
them to do, right? So
Yeah.
it's like,
Right.
that's why people don't have any faith in political leaders anymore. And you'll
Exactly.
find out at some point, where President Trump stands and all that, right? How many promises is he going to fulfill?
Mm-hmm.
So on and
Yeah.
so forth.
We're gonna
Um,
find out.
we're going to find out. I think he comes in just about average, just like everybody else, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see at the end of everything.
And
Um,
and unfortunately, and I do say this with all my heart, it's unfortunate that he has to be dragged into it because it's a state issue and it shouldn't require the president. But he is involved now, and I don't know that it's helping. I really don't know.
No, I think it's
Maybe it
making
is.
matters
Yeah.
worse. I think it's
Right.
making
I
matters
don't
worse
know.
because
Yeah.
now you're bringing personal. And as much as either one of them, Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump, want to admit, they are obviously they dislike each other. So they're not hiding their dislike for each other,
Right.
but they
Right.
have to work together.
Right.
And that's hopefully the cooler heads will prevail,
Yep.
and they will work together to help the people that need it the most, right?
And that's what matters here. And hopefully they can put politics aside, do what's right. Just forget over yourselves. I don't care who we're talking about. Get over yourselves. I don't care whether you're the governor of the biggest, richest state in the union. I don't care whether you're the president. I don't care if you're the mayor. Get over yourselves and let's fix this problem. God, leave, man.
It's all
But,
about
but,
political. It's all about, having enough political cachet.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I have it, and I'm going to use it. And if you have a mandate, or if you feel that you have a mandate, you're going to try to do what you think you can get away with.
yeah. And that's an easy transition into my next point. And that is, now I see a lot of that locally here because there's a large Hispanic community in Elizabeth, which is a neighboring town where I live. The talk of ICE and deportations, and that's in the news big time these last few days. And locally in the news, it's been reported, although I don't have solid numbers, but ICE is going around and they're making arrests, detentions, call them whatever you want to call them, and people are being deported,
Yeah, the 3,500 over the last week, right?
I
That's the
think so,
number.
yeah.
That's the number.
Yeah.
It's 3,500 across the United States, right? Not just in the
Yes.
tri-state area.
Yes.
3,500 across the United States. Those pictures send a message, right? They make you think twice. They know what they're doing. If it's true that they're getting rid of criminals and people that simply are just are a cancer to society, be
The
rid of
bad
them.
actors.
Yeah, the bad actors, just be rid of them, man. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is when you start rounding up innocent people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we've seen that as of yet, but it's going to happen, right? It's just bound to happen, and I'll tell you something, this president's going to, he's going to test the system, right? He feels that he could just write an executive order
And off we go.
and off we go. And he's going to test that theory, right?
Yeah.
And there are some things that, he feels, what? I don't want it. I'm going to write an executive order that should handle it. Well, it doesn't work like that, right? So he's going to come into a lot of resistance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a lot to be seen yet. It's very early in this presidency. It's very early in this administration. He's already made his feelings known about what he wants to do. That is high on his agenda. You're not going to feel the effects of what he's doing yet for months, right? When it comes to communities around you. So it's going to take a while. It's not going to happen overnight. I don't know. He's targeting a lot of different things, and I don't want to get into a real serious conversation here, but they're very explosive, right? And it's so
he's doing what he's saying, and he's saying what he's doing. It's the old saying. I mean what I say, and I say what I mean, whether you like it or not.
Well, it's like your uncle, like your 100-year-old uncle who just says whatever's on his mind, right? Because he just doesn't care anymore, right?
She's got short hair. She's a butch.
What the hell do I care?
I've lived my life.
I don't need to make excuses for anybody. But we'll see, man. We'll see what happens. Yeah. But for any of us who are kind of getting worried about his presidency, let's just say that throughout history, right, there's always been someone who has tried to push the boundaries, right? And that's why the founding fathers developed those checks and balances, right? So you can't just, no matter how much someone may want to, this is not royalty is not running this country, right? It's a democratic process. So no matter, right, it's supposed to be, right? We'll see what happens. We'll see. It's going to take months to see, and we'll see what happens. And hopefully, but going back to, not going off on a tangent, but going back to California, to your point, just stop. Just stop at the political, posturing and just help. You can do it. Just stop. Stop complaining. Stop criticizing. Stop saying what you should have done or would have done or could have. Just do it already.
Mm-hmm.
And stop comparing yourself to everyone else, right?
Just shut up and do it.
Exactly. Just shut up and go, man. Just go.
Yeah, exactly.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Oh, God. There we go. Flashing back.
There we go. Slow motion. Very slow motion at this point.
Oh, God.
So I guess we can end it there for this episode.
Well, hang on 1 second. 1 second. One more thing.
We've got more?
One more, and we have to discuss this a little bit today, maybe even the next one, because we've got time. The Super Bowl is set.
Oh, Yes.
The Super Bowl
Yes.
is set. It's easy for us to say who we're cheering for. It's another thing as to what's going to happen. Me, I'm not a look. I don't have a horse in this race. I don't have a dog in this fight.
I
All
don't
right.
like Kansas
So
City
I
or
don't care.
Philly.
I would like to. I'll be honest with you. I would like to see the Eagles win it because even though I'm a Giants fan, I would like to see it stay in the NFC East. I would like to see it that way. That said, there's a bunch of guys out there from Kansas City that don't care what Raphael thinks.
Let me tell you something. That
Jeez.
man, Patrick Mahomes, that man, well, he's this generation's Tom Brady, right?
Sure.
Which was, our generation. Well, our generation was more Joe Montana. And
Yes, and Phil
yes,
Sims.
and Phil Sims and those guys. But this generation is Tom Brady. He's got, he's 29 years old. Patrick, he already has 3 Super
Has
Bowls.
he? Wow.
Yes, at 29 years old. So
I
it's
think that's
just
pretty damn good.
yes, he's already. He is. I like him as a personality. I'm seeing him a little too much on commercials now. A little, him and
Ah,
Travis and
there
and
you
and,
go.
and
Oh
Taylor and
God.
all that.
Oh,
I
jeez.
think I'm kind of tired of that, and I'm glad
Yep.
the football season's coming to an end.
Yep.
Because I'm tired of seeing him on commercials.
That's
Here's what's
probably
gonna
why I'm
happen,
cheering for Philly right there. That's probably the
right?
reason
Right.
why. Just
I guarantee
uh,
you, this is what's gonna happen. Do you remember
yeah.
the hate that New York teams used to have for Tom Brady? Right? The same
Yep.
hate is going to
Yep.
start coming down on Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Not because I wanted to, but that's just
No.
human nature. People are going to
Sure.
get sick of him
Yep.
winning all the
Yep.
time. He is
Yep.
an amazing player. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
He really
You?
is.
He really is. He is
Yeah.
amazing.
He
And
can be running in one direction and looking in that direction and throw back and cock his arm and throw it that way.
yes, he is an amazing, amazing player.
Yeah.
And and I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and we're nowhere near that at this point as a team, right?
No.
Um,
Yeah. Right.
and it's just really bad. It's horrible to watch them. And the only reason I want Philly to win is because the Giants should have never let go of Saquon.
Thank you very
Never
much.
should have let him go.
Thank
I
you very much. That was the Giants' fault
That was the Giants'
completely.
fault. I said to my son, who is a huge New York Giants football fan, he said, screw him, Saquon's gone. He chose Philly. Saquon always had talent. He just had a
Yes.
horrible offensive line.
Exactly.
And I
And
said, let's see what that boy does in Philadelphia. And he's
now look.
single-handedly making the
The
Giants.
first play against a defense that was stacked against him. That first play, I don't know whether you saw the defense.
I
It
did
was a
see it.
6-2 defense that was designed to stop the run. And on the first play, he's off into the horizon. You're like, what?
He's such an amazing back, and I knew he always had it. He was kind of that talent. I mean, he was kind of snake bitten when he was with the Giants. He would get injured here and there, but I always knew he had talent. And we just had a horrible line, and it's coming back
Yep.
to haunt them.
Yep.
And if he wins, oh my gosh, they're
I'll
going
be
to want
happy
to pull
for
their
him.
hair out. Oh, I would be very happy for him because I
Yeah.
believe that he was a perfect Giant.
Mhm.
When he was in New York, he was a good Giant. He did
He was a good
everything the
player.
Giants wanted
Good
to.
team
He
guy.
didn't. Good team guy. Did not speak out of turn. Did not get
Right.
himself into trouble. Wasn't
And
arguing
he's
about
still that way.
contracts. And he's still that way.
Yeah.
He just wants to play
And win.
and win. And that's what he said. He said, "Look, I didn't get traded here, or I didn't come here. I apologize. I didn't come here for a record when they were talking
Right.
about
Right.
the rushing record. He came here for a championship, and
Right.
he's one step away from that.
That's right.
Now, can you beat the great Patrick Mahomes and
We're
Kansas
about to
City?
find out.
Right?
We're about to find out. And we still have time to discuss this further on the upcoming podcast on number
Yeah.
11. This is number 10. Thank you very much for hanging in there with us through
Yes.
10 episodes. And we'll definitely readdress this because we don't know what's going to happen between now and the Super Bowl. But I think we should have an opportunity for episode 11, and we'll see how this stacks up. We might have an injury or we might have an injury recovery, which might make a big difference to the game. We'll see.
Honestly, I don't want Patrick Mahomes, as great as that man is, to win three Super Bowls in a row.
I know.
I think
I'm
that's
tired
just
of it.
that's just I'm tired of it. I think he needs to hurt his pinky for like a day.
Just for a day. Just
Just, just the Super Bowl Sunday. So his passes come out a little less accurate. Oh, I hate that man. I
to
wish
the
he was
green
on the.
shirts.
I wish he was on the Steelers. God, I wish
I
he was
am
on the
not so
Steelers.
sure that I am rooting for the Eagles as much as I'm rooting against the Chiefs.
Let's just. I hate Philly fans. My God, if it's a
Uh,
choice between the two, I don't know.
Brutal to
Anyway,
listen to
everybody,
those
we'll soon
people.
find out,
Yeah,
and
well,
we'll talk more
anyway, here
about
we
it.
go. Let's enjoy it all. And until the next time, take care, guys. We'll see you soon, Dex. And hang in there and talk to you soon.
Talk to you guys later. Bye bye now.
All right, take care.